Thanks very much. I appreciate it. I do about 100 speeches a year, and this is the first time I've ever had to follow the electric rock violin virtuoso. So that's sort of a new and refreshing tale. And it's funny, when you put the fact that you're a tequila lover in your bio, it's amazing how all the corporations want you to come in the morning. It's probably smart. These United guys are not stupid. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, oh, you know, we're trying to run our business, we've got all these things to do, and now some guy is going to tell us about Facebook. And we are going to talk about social media, obviously. But I want to start off by saying I am deceptively youthful looking, perhaps not on the HD screen, but you know, when I was in college, I had a typewriter, okay? I learned how to do all these things. I didn't come out of the womb as a social media geek boy, you know, I learned how to do these things. And you can learn how to do them too. There is no special secret sauce needed to be good at social media. And let's talk about that. I want you to first put on your pretend hat, if you will, for a second. Let's pretend that you are at a budget motel in Arizona, far away from the Rosen Shingle Creek category. And this budget motel is bad. It's this kind of bad. And I actually got bed bugs a few weeks ago in Sioux Falls, so I've actually been down this road a little bit recently. Let's say this motel was bad. Historically, and in my business, when I say historically, I mean like 2 years ago, historically, what would you do about that if you had a bad hotel experience? Well, maybe you would trot on down to the front desk. You would get loud and you would say, this room is unsatisfactory. We've got to do something about this. Or maybe you would call the phone. If it's a chain, they had an 800 number, 877 number, maybe you would call up and say, this room is unsatisfactory. We need to do something about this. Or maybe you would actually write a letter. If you remember how that works, there's trees and they're flat and the pen, and the gold-nibbed fountain pen is usually standard equipment in motels in that category. But nowadays, as often as not, you don't have to do any of those things. You can grab your iPhone or your HTC Droid, Incredulous, whatever they happen to be, and you could leave a review on a website like TripAdvisor.com in just a few seconds. Social media is the darling of the passive-aggressive. You could in just a few seconds, leave a review like this guy did. This is the actual review, the first review that comes up. First review that comes up on TripAdvisor.com for the Budget Host Saga Motel. True story, located around the corner from my former house in Flagstaff. Headline of this review: I think I can feel death creeping upon me as I write this. Which is what we call in the social media consulting business a highly negative social media mention. Goes on to say, it's so gross, like something in a horror movie. I'm about to walk out to my car to get my own blankets because this bed is so gross, I don't even want to imagine how many people are brought here to be murdered. Do not stay here. My wife and I are going to go get tested for HIV because of this bed. Also, the Wi-Fi blows. Now, that is definitely my favorite part of this review, right? Because this guy puts HIV and Wi-Fi on the same amenity level, which is definitely a sign of the times, right? That in and of itself sort of encapsulates where we're at as a society. But this review was left February 16th of 2010, so that's 15 months or so ago, and remains unanswered. Still sitting there, just sitting there. Now, in days past, if you had a bad hotel experience, how many people could you tell about that experience? Okay? The number of people that you could express your ire to is constrained by the number of people that you come into contact with. How many people do you see at work? How many people do you see at church? How many people do you see at your kid's soccer game? There's a finite number associated with those in-person connections. What is that, 25, 50, right? If you're Laura Gale and you know everybody, maybe it's 200. But there is a number of people that you can express your displeasure to. Now, this review is online, and hundreds or thousands of people are probably seeing that review. And while I don't know for a fact, I suspect that that is having a relatively negative impact on their business. Because it would be a fairly bold call to be booking rooms in that hotel after going to TripAdvisor.com, because you're thinking, okay, well, the HIV part is a concern. But continental breakfast, I mean, you gotta, so close to the Grand Canyon, I'm gonna overlook the murder. Today, every customer is a reporter. Every customer is a reporter. And that creates 4 big challenges for business. Now, the first one is verification. We don't know for a fact that Sean 398-5789 actually stayed at that motel, do we? We assume so. We hope so, but we can't guarantee it. We can't verify it. If someone comes down to the front desk to complain, we know they stayed at the motel because they're standing in front of us. But online, we're not sure. It could be the guy that owns the motel across the street. And we hope that doesn't happen, but it absolutely does happen. Now, in this particular case, there are several other reviews in the same sort of level of disappointment. So I'm fairly certain that this, in fact, occurred. But verification is a challenge. So is contemplation. If someone contacts your business in the real world, you have a chance to think about how you want to respond. How do we want to handle this? Now the review is online, boom, 5 seconds, and you're instantly in reaction mode. Coordination as well. Someone calls your 800 number and says, I've got a problem. You can say, I'm going to contact the manager of that particular motel, or I'm going to contact the head of housekeeping and see what the problem is. Now, boom, 5 seconds, we're in reaction mode. Perhaps most importantly, privacy. However you choose to handle a circumstance like that, whether it's, you know what, we should give you your money back, or, the murder sheets is just kind of how we roll. However you choose to handle that in that customer service continuum is really between you and the customer. That face-to-face conversation is between you and him. The telephone call between you and him. The letter and the response letter between you and him. And now all of our laundry, whether dirty or clean, is out there for everybody to see. We've lost the ability to be private, and that certainly creates challenges for business. It's funny, though, to some degree, we have created our own Frankenstein. Because as consumers, as individuals, as customers, and we all are, we love this. It is intoxicating and exhilarating because it gives us a measure of control. The history of business, since the first caveman sold a rock to another caveman, has always had essentially the same relationship. It's master and servant. Master and servant. And everything we've done in marketing and communication since that point has been some version of that script. We've got great stuff. Buy it. We've got great stuff. Buy it. We've got great stuff. Will you please buy it? It's always some combination of that. And now, customers have skin in the game. Customers are part of the equation. It's not master and servant anymore. It's peer-to-peer. And we have to stop marketing at people and start to market with people. And that ability to have skin in the game, that ability to be a peer with businesses is fantastic as consumers. But as business owners, as marketers, as entrepreneurs, it's a little bit scary. I'll grant you that.